Thank you, Jean. I am so glad. Jean and Judy, thank you. Yes. So, I am sorry I'm late, you guys. I have been trying to get everything squared away to get going this morning, get live this morning, all of that, and this should be the last of the hiccups, I think. So we're gonna see how that goes. Um, I want to welcome you. I'm Tammy. I'm the Siberian Wind. If you're new to my channel, I am a quilting content creator, and I'm happy to have you here. Today we are going to work on binding, and we're just going to chat and hang out and just have a good relaxed Saturday morning. I'm kind of in the mood for a relaxed morning, so it is about time. So I see Giovanna's in the chat. Welcome, Giovanna. We have missed you over here. Jean is here. Thank you, Jean. Donnell is in the chat as well. Good morning, Donnell. Thank you for giving me your time slot this morning. Judy says, "Hi, my friends. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you, Judy. I am glad you are here." Mary G is saying hello. Andrea is here. Welcome, Andrea. Glad you are here. She says hi to everyone. Giovanna says, "Okay, now we can hear." Yes, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for being patient with me and giving me a little bit of grace this morning. It is much needed and much appreciated. It's been a difficult week, to say the least. I've had a couple of things going on in my personal life, and it's made just getting back to fabric and sewing and quilting so much more therapeutic. Irish Sail Lady, she says, "Good morning to all, coffee in hand, and just turned on my machine." Perfect timing, Irish Sail Lady. And you are going to have to remind me of your name. I know it. It is on the tip of my head. Like, not tip of the tongue, tip of the head. I do know it, but I cannot for the life of me think straight. Laura, good morning, Tammy and everyone. Good morning, Laura. Giovanna says, "You get on too late, my dear, for me most lives." Yeah, I know. You've been a trooper for me. So Tuesdays, let me turn my little sign on so everybody's gonna be able to see it throughout the day today. And oh wow, I did not mean it for it to be flashing. Is flashing okay? I think flashing is gonna have to be okay because I don't know where my remote control is. So flashing is gonna have to be okay for right now. Let me get this light turned off on the machine so I can bring you guys down and you guys can see everything. There we go. Glenda is here. Good morning, Tammy, and everyone in chat. Linda, but most call me Irish. I knew it was something starting with an L. I just could not think of what. So thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. I like to do that. I like to do the word association thing where I associate letters of a name or things like that in order to remember them. So remembering someone's real name that they would rather, that they go by in real life versus, what they are on YouTube, it actually helps my brain. So it's more about that and, respecting you as well. Michelle, good morning. She says, "Hi, everyone. And if you guys who have a channel want to put exclamation selfie in the chat, test out, see if Nightbot is working for me this morning. You are more than welcome to do that. I would appreciate it." 6 p.m. is 4 a.m. the next day. Yes. So maybe that's a little bit more, you can sleep and then get up to watch it. Get up super early. That's one option maybe. We're gonna hope for that. That's what I'm gonna hope for. We're gonna bring you guys down to the machine, and if I keep sticking my arm in the way, I do apologize. I'm gonna make a few adjustments to this camera real quick. So that you guys can actually see it a little bit better. There we go. Selfie is working, so Nightbot loves me. Okay, awesome, you guys. All right. So what I'm working on first is this Irish chain with a twist quilt. The Irish chain with a twist baby quilt. I got news last night that Mama is being induced today. So baby may be arriving today. Could be maybe, yeah. I hear you, Giovanna. Sometimes it's easier to go to sleep and then get up early, and then sometimes it is easier to just stay awake. I don't know which I'm in the mood for right now. So it is what it is. So my Saturday series is going to be about an hour, hour and a half every Saturday morning. And my time is going to float around a little bit. Initially, the reason I took time slot today is I talked with Donnell, got her permission that I wasn't going to be on when she was on because she was going to be stepping out today. She's got some family stuff going on, and so I am taking her slot. And next week, I will probably be hitting the tail end of Sean's and then leading into Donnell's, or I may be getting after Donnell. I don't know my time slot yet for that. Jean says I'm doing the stay awake, but don't know how long I will last. I do not blame you, Jean. Thank you for just being here. I appreciate it. So I don't know how many of you caught my Tuesday night live from Utah. I had to go to Utah for a government-related hearing, and it was a stressful trip. There was a lot going on mentally and emotionally preparing for that trip, and I was also going to be meeting my best friend from a really long time ago from high school, and so there was a lot of emotions going into that trip. And I mean, it is what it is. You know, when you don't know what to expect, that's always the hardest thing. If you know what to expect, it's a little bit easier to prepare. It's a little bit easier to be mentally set where you need to be. I had a bad experience in January doing this trip that I had to do, and I definitely psyched myself up that repeating this trip was going to be a repeat of January. And now January I ran into a freaking snowstorm, and pardon my language, I ran into a snowstorm and complete whiteout conditions. I wasn't driving, but it's been a while since I've been in that kind of situation, and the weather was much, much better this time around, but I just had a lot on my shoulders. Giovanna says, wow, that's right. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not anything that I can't overcome or couldn't overcome eventually, but I came off a Memorial Day weekend and immediately was going into traveling, and I felt prepared, but I didn't feel prepared. And it's like getting up in public speaking in front of 3 million people and at some big arena, and your note cards that you thought you were going to be practicing and rehearsing the night before all got spilled with coffee, and you have no note cards, and you have no speech, and you have nothing to prepare, and you are just, it's akin to those dreams that apparently everybody has. I didn't have them, but a lot of people have these dreams of they show up at school in their grade school days, they show up at school naked, or they show up at school wearing pajamas and they didn't mean to, so like everybody's looking at them funny. It's that kind of dream state, but I was living so I mean, it is what it is. It was definitely stressful. I loved getting the short little live to connect with you guys on Tuesday night. That gave me just that brief moment of, hey, you know, something in my life is still stable, is still normal, is still exactly what I want it to be when I want it to be. And I have enough binding, you guys. I had already started on binding this. But I couldn't even concentrate last night. I am still recovering from both the physical and the mental toll of that trip. So, side note, you guys, I will be showing you what all my haul is from that trip on Tuesday. So that's what we're going to be going over on Tuesday. I'm not going to do it today. I need to get this done. I meant to do this before I left. And that was another thing weighing on my mind, is I've got this quilt and 3 others that I'm waiting to bind. And I've got the binding ready. I just need to sew it on. And I haven't. I mean, that's where my struggle is. I've just got so much on my brain. So you guys tell me, what are you up to this Saturday morning? I know a couple of you trying to stay awake this morning. I know coffee's in the works. Linda, I think you're at work probably. You guys let me know what's going on today. Tomorrow is Italian Day, 2nd of June. Laura says, I definitely understand. This has been a very long and difficult week. YouTube has been my escape. Exactly. And I'm not even using YouTube as watching my own content creators that I love. It's just me being on YouTube. I've been watching a lot of shorts lately. I've been watching comedians, and I have not even been really watching quilting content. I have just needed so much of a break mentally. And now that trip is done, I can get back into my routines and my normal stuff and really just sink my feet back into where I am. And one of the things I'll be doing this week is I will be going with another group of ladies, a group of friends of mine here, and we are going to go to one of the quilt shops on the shop hop list, the Wyoming State Shop Hop. And as of right now, I've got 20 shops left to get to by the end of August. And after Tuesday, I will have 19 left. Judy says, I'm trying to wake up. I have a car show this afternoon to go to. Oh, how exciting. I love car shows. I used to go and photograph at the car shows. And I used to do, please don't hate me, I'm a photographer. So I got a lot of requests to do pinup photography. And going to a car show was perfect for pinup photography, and we always got permission from the car owners and all of that, and it would be a model that wanted to get these shots done, and we would go to the car shows to go do those shots because it was just the perfect environment. So I mean, everybody's clothed, but it's the poses and all of that. So it was kind of fun doing a couple of them that I did. They dressed up in 1950s clothing, so it was trying to be authentic, even though we've got cell phones out. It's all modern, but we were still doing that. Giovanna says tomorrow is the Union of Italy from 1946, 2nd of June. Okay, Union of Italy. I will have to look that up. That is not something I have learned in my history books, so I'm going to have to look that up. I'm curious now. Rayanne says, headed out to our Saturday breakfast with the ham radio group. Oh, that's exciting, Rayanne. That's cool. I think that's awesome that you guys do that. The ham radio stuff. I have no experience whatsoever, but I think if I got a ham radio call sign, it would have to be Siberian at this point. Andrea says, I'm trying to list my pattern on Etsy and running into all kinds of problems. Oh, no. I finally got them to link my Cash App account, but now I have to wait for them to verify it. Grr, all kinds of problems. Yes, so Andrea, I did have an Etsy account for a while. And a lot of what Etsy used to be, when Etsy was first dreamed up, if you will, it was for cottage industry. It was for the little guys, the people like us. That it's not a mass production. Etsy has changed a lot of its policies, and the policies actually favor the big companies, and it's the policies and procedures that they got in place are not conducive for small business. So I actually took everything down off of Etsy. I don't have a good alternate site to offer, but I ran into the problems with Etsy, so I won't be using them. I'll buy on them, but I won't sell on them. Mary says, Oregon had a shop hop in April. Our local had a lot of theft in their shop. Has never happened before for them. That is not cool. Not cool. I used to run my own business. I've run a couple of businesses. And one of the things that a lot of people didn't understand about theft is that it's not just the actual act of theft that causes the damage to the business. It's all of the man hours, all of the extra that goes into making things right. And that is part of the struggle as well. So theft is always awful. And it's such a big hit. I mean, even if somebody only steals a $20 item, that $20 that you were expecting to get, you're not going to get. You're out your cost of whatever the item cost before you're out the revenue you would have gotten as well. And then you're out the shipping cost to replace it. So many problems. I feel so bad for them. That's rough. Giovanna says Italy is a young country. They get more money from big companies. Yeah, Etsy does. Yeah, they do. I did not know Italy was a young country. I think because the way that it's presented here in the United States is Italy was one of the big powerhouses. Italy has all this rich history, and at least my understanding of Italy from my school days is there was nothing about Italy not being an actual country or being a combined country or that there's been anything different. And I did go to school after 1946, so that should have been in my books. But no, it was not. So I will have to do some research. That's news. I did not know. Andrea says, right, I've had my account for quite some time, but was not going to use them. But I do not know where else to do digital downloads. Any suggestions? I'm not sure, so don't quote me yet. I'm not sure about doing it on Amazon. I have heard of some people doing theirs through Amazon. I was going to be looking into that for myself. That was where I was going to go. Just because I think that it will be a little bit more streamlined and might be a little bit easier. The other option, and this is a less popular option, I know that George Siciliano, when he sells his patterns, he does have his website, but he doesn't sell through the website. He doesn't do merchandise through the website. So what he has you do is he has you email him, and he handles all of the transactional part off the web. Like he handled, he does Venmo or whatever. He does the electronic payments, but he doesn't you can't buy it directly on the site. You just email him and then he sets everything out. Chloe says, hello, all in Tammy. Can't chat, but we'll listen. Thank you for being here, Chloe. I appreciate it. Thanks. I'm glad you let me know you were here. So Andrea, I don't know, because I haven't gotten that temperature quilt pattern done yet to be able to post it. So I haven't looked into it as hard as I originally intended to before now. But yeah, Amazon publishing is one. I know that there's a couple of writers, quilt writers that publish books for their patterns. It's not a pattern, it's an actual book. And they have some kind of system set up where when you order the book, Amazon sends it to the printer and it's printed and shipped directly from the printer. So nobody has the books on hand. The books are digital in the printer's office until somebody orders them. So I don't know how that works because I haven't been to the point where I'm ready to go that far yet. So I don't know, but that's what I was looking into for myself, is to do like Amazon publishing kind of option, if that makes sense. So like my understanding of it, if you were to use like Staples for printing, then this is just logistically what I can think of right now and the way I think of it. Let's say Staples is my printer location. So when somebody orders it through Amazon, it sends an order to Staples. Staples prints and ships it following the Amazon order information, and it goes directly to the consumer that way. Andrea says, I have a publishing account through Amazon. I used to publish books for other people. I did not think about that. I will look into that as well. The reason I think of that is because I feel like it's more streamlined. You don't have to have a lot of stock. You don't have to go through all of the rigmarole of how many items do you have, how many copies do you have, are you going to continue to reprint it, and then you're not paying Etsy fees either. Now I do know I have a Patreon account as well. I'm planning to get back to using that as well, possibly. I used to use it a lot more than I do now. And I want to say that there's an option there too, especially if you're going to issue digital patterns versus print. So that may be an option too. Those are what I can think of off the top of my head. Giovanna says, as a democracy, it is young. We used to have a monarchy. Oh, that makes sense. That explains a lot. That explains where my brain was with it. Okay. And she says, it's the 70th anniversary of the Republic. Oh, is it 70? Well, 1946 and it's 2024. Is it? I'm confused. I'm math. I'm not math. I'm not math today. Math is too much, you guys. Can't do math today. All right. So I guess I should have shown you guys what I was doing. Before I finish this, I'm going to show you what I've done. I was just doing this because it's second nature now. Okay. So I've been stitching this binding on, and so I get to a point and I just stop and I cut it off. I actually cut the other side, or the underside, but I just cut it off. Okay? Yay! Welcome back, Linda. Glad you're here again. All right. So I've got that section, and then this is my tail to add to it. It's the opposite direction of what I'm showing you guys, but it's the same principle. So the piece that I cut off, this is one of the two pieces that I cut off. Okay? So my binding was like this with the raw edge here, folded edge here, and I'm just opening it up. Okay? And I'm going to lay it on top of my binding strip. And I'm going to lay it, I'm flattening out my binding strip, you guys. I'm going to lay it on top of the binding strip so that the edges are lined up. So the cut edge that I have here is lined up with my raw edge of my binding, my opened binding. And what I'm going to do is, laying this flat on the quilt, I'm going to take my other binding end and put it on top, and I'm going to cut it off where it lines up with that edge. Okay, so that gives you the right size. So now all I've got to do, and I'm going to grab some pins. So you guys know I don't use a lot of pens, but this is one of the few times that it's common for me to use a pen. So what you do is you open your binding strips up, and it's a matter of laying them on top of each other the correct direction. Okay, let me make sure I've got my phone going off left and right and making sure, yeah, okay, no emergencies. All right. So you want to put these at the 90-degree angle. And I should have stopped further back with my stitching, but I didn't. And if you need to rip out some of your stitching so you have enough room to do this, then do it. I mean, I could and I probably should, but I'm not going to, because this is Saturday. This is a day to not use Jackie. So we're not using Jackie. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing from corner to corner across there. And by pinning it that way, I can open it up and make sure it is going to lay the correct direction, and it is. So now all I've got to do is pull this back out where I've pinned it, and I'm going to stitch corner to corner. I'm going to line it up a little bit better than I've got it lined up right now. Poor Jackie. Jackie got used last night. So Jackie is perfectly fine and happy where she is, but she's going to stay where she is. She can get used any other day but today. If I have to use Jackie today, we have got some serious problems. Alright, so I wish I could get you guys closer so you guys could see, but I'm using my diagonal seam tape to line up that corner to corner because I've got my pin where I can see where that corner is. And so I am just using that instead of drawing a line. If you do not have diagonal seam tape on your machine or on your table or whatever, and you don't have it line to follow, then you can always just take 5 extra seconds, draw the line, and you're good to go. Alright, so I've stitched that line, so first thing I want to do before I do anything else is I'm going to open it, or I'm going to fold it back over and make sure that it's going to lay flat. Okay, so I know I've got extra bulk in there right now, but from point where I stopped sewing to point where I started sewing, I'm not having to super stretch it, but it does lay flat. So all I have to do is trim off the extra past the seam allowance. If you want to take this to the iron, you absolutely can. I'm not pulling the iron out today either. At least not right now. So it's not necessary, it's not needed, so I'm not going to do it. Today is a day to sew and to put machine and needle and thread together with my fabric. It is not the day to rip. Today is just not my day to rip. It might be tomorrow, and I might have to undo everything I did today, but today is not that day. So I do not have a label for this quilt yet. I have an idea of what my label is going to be, but I'm going to have to set up. Okay, so she is tired. Yes, she is. Jackie is very tired. She is getting a break, and so am I. We're in separate corners. We are having timeouts from each other. That's what we're going to go with. All right, so the binding is attached to the front, and I have two options. I could flip all this over to the back and take the time to hand sew it. I know how this quilt is going to possibly be used, so I'm not hand sewing. But this is what the binding is going to look like once it is finished. So I'm not going to sew the back side of it right now. I'm going to work on another quilt. But what I will do is I will take this afternoon, I will go out and sit on my hammock on the patio, and I will clip with like those Wonder clips. I will go clip this binding in place to make sure that it is all the way back. And what I will do is I will come in and I will stitch right in this ditch of the front of the binding, and the back will be caught in that. So I will take my time. Now, I apologize, you guys, I have the hiccups. I do not know why I have the hiccups, but I have them. But, so I will take my time and do that, and I will make sure that it's going to cover. If you glue baste, if you are ever interested in glue basting, this is the time to use it. Alright, so I'm going to show you my corners real quick. So when I stitch my corner, I stitch to 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and then I turn my machine and I stitch off the end. Stitch off the corner. That's what these loose threads right here are, is where I stitch off the corner. Then I take and I fold my binding so that I kind of get this clean fold right here. So the sides are lined up. And then I make sure that it's going to lay flat, like back up against my quilt. And then I start at 1/4 inch, or I start at the edge and go ahead and stitch down. And then so what I do is when I go to clip these and like hold them in place, because I don't use pins for this, they poke me too much. So when I go to clip it, the corners are what I do first, and the same side, and this is a personal preference, the same side that is under on the front of the quilt, so this side right here, is what I'm going to make sure is under on the back side of the quilt as well. So it's a personal preference, but let me see, there we go. So that's what my back will look like. I'll line it up better than this, but that's the basic premise of what the back looks like, and then here's again the front. So that's what I'll do to all my 4 corners, and that's how I do that. And I do like to wait to stitch the binding down until I have the label, so that I can tack the label in when I tack the binding to the back of the quilt. So the back may not get stitched down until baby is here and I have done a label. So it may get stitched down tonight. I'm assuming baby will be here by tonight. But as soon as baby is here, then I will put everything in for the label and get that stitched out. Giovanna says, I said this morning, now I'm relaxing. Good deal. Good deal. She says, you could use a decorative stitch. I could. But I will say this. I am kind of a traditionalist in that I like the look of the tacking stitch, if you will, being just that straight line stitching. And it's not that it has to be that way, and you're right, you definitely can use a decorative stitch. I just feel like, I guess it's because of all the quilt show judges, and they typically want you to do the hand stitching on the back, and it's supposed to be basically invisible stitching. That's where my brain goes. It's not that it's right or wrong, because as long as it's attached and it's going to stay attached, and that's going to work for what you need it for, then it really doesn't matter. But that's my personal preference. Giovanna says, how do you make the labels? This one is going to be an embroidered label. So I will take and I'll set up Beauty with her embroidery unit, and I will stitch out some words and things on it. So what I do for the baby quilts is, it depends. Yeah, the quilt police kind of, but I mean, I don't care what everybody else does, but because I've gotten that kind of feedback, it's more of me thinking that it looks pretty too. So that's kind of why I do it too. I think it looks pretty that way, the way that the judges like. So I kind of agree with them on that, but that's for my own personal quilts that I'm making. So that's kind of, I think, the theory behind it. The labels I do, that one I'm going to be doing embroidery. So baby quilts. So this mother, when I did her older child's quilt, she had chosen a flower, and this one she chose hydrangeas. The other quilt she had chosen magnolias. And so I did a little poem kind of thing about kind of like a blessing about what I want for the child, what I hope for the child, what my emotions are for the child as part of the quilt label. So when the little girl looks back at her quilt, internal police, there you go. It is very much internal police. It's my OCD, I think, too. But I don't remember exactly what I wrote. I've got it saved so I can go back and look. But it was something about growing as the mighty magnolia. It was something like that. It was poetic and sweet, and it's something that my husband and I both came up with, and I like his input on that. So once she's here, then he and I will sit and discuss and finalize the quilt label for this one too. Charlotte is here. She says, "Good morning, Tammy and everyone." Good morning, Charlotte. All right. Which one do I have next? Okay. I've got to dig this quilt out because I put these in order of which one needed to be done next. So the quilt that I've got to do next is the bottom one. So let me dig it real quick. And that is what we're going to work on. I'm going to do another one. Oh, you know what? I can't do that one yet, you guys. I got to square that one up. That one is not ready. So we're going to take a fun one. I forgot I did not square it up. So that's my fault. You guys can blame me. It's my fault. We may bind that tomorrow night. I don't know. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, I'm going to go live for about 2 hours. I have to tone down volume, turn things off. I can't run things loud, and all of that starting at 10. So I have 2 hours to be able to kind of cut up, enjoy sewing, hang out with you guys, all that kind of stuff on Sunday evening before I have to get quiet. I mean, I can listen to music, but I have to listen to it quietly. And I can sew, but I can't speed demon through anything. So, gotta love neighbors. Gotta love apartments. So, it's that being respectful of my neighbors and forgetting that I'm a night owl. And apparently my neighbors aren't. I haven't gotten any complaints, so don't think I've gotten myself in that much trouble. I haven't. It hasn't happened. But I know one neighbor was a little upset with my long arm. So I definitely can't long arm after 10 p.m. That is the established no, I can't do that. Alright, so the one that we're going to work on is, I guess I should have shown you guys, is the feathered snowflake tree skirt. And this has 8 sides to it. And they're not 90-degree angles. So, we get to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to pull up my sleeves. Getting hot. You have that problem too, Giovanna? Oh, I mean, I get the point of apartments. I do. I really do. One of my friends owns like a townhouse, and I am forever paranoid that if I had a townhouse, that my neighbor would constantly hear me, or I would hear them, and I still would not feel like I owned my own property because we share a wall. And so I am of the opinion that I want my own freestanding structure as my home, and it is such a struggle to not have that right now. Because I want to be the night owl. I want to be able to renovate. I want to be able to paint. I cannot tell you. Oh, show the quilt, please. Yes, absolutely, Giovanna. So it is this. I can't see in the camera. That is as much as I can get in the camera that I can tell. So it is about 60 inches or so, or 64 or something like that. So I miss painting. You guys, I would not have a beige colored sewing studio if I had a choice. I don't know what color it would be, so don't get me wrong. I don't know what color it would be, but it would not be beige. I know that much. Even if it were patterned walls, would be better than beige. I'm so tired of beige. Thank you, Giovanna. She says, that is stunning. Thank you. Oh, I started this before I went live with Katie on her channel over New Year's Eve into New Year's Day live that she did, her 12-hour live. Giovanna says purple. I would love that in theory. The only problem with painting the walls purple is when you start adding the lights in, you do have to consider how the walls change the lighting in the room. My favorite paint job ever, and I know my husband probably, neon is off the table, Giovanna. Good try. Neon is not an option. But that is so hilarious. Thank you. So I don't know if my husband agrees. I don't know. But before he and I got married, when I owned my own home, my master bedroom, I painted it a dark blue. Let's see. It was about this shade of blue. I mean, we're talking dark. I mean, it might be a little bit lighter than this, but no joke, it was almost navy. I mean, it was deep. And my color scheme for the entire house was blue and gray. And I was using like blues, like dark blues. And then all the other rooms in the house, or all the other bedrooms in the house were grays. Giovanna says, okay, on one wall purple and the rest lilac. That might work. I'll have to think. It'll have to be a very contemplative process, because once the paint goes up and it is dry and I decorate, nothing is moving for the next 10 years. So I will have to contemplate it hard and long, because whatever it is, whatever color I choose, it will not be beige. I might let my husband choose. He has a good eye for color when it comes to decorating. But it cannot be beige. I'm so over beige. Beige and white. I'm so over it. But so I painted the master bedroom that dark blue, and my master bedroom was huge. It was long. It wasn't like wide, but in one part of the room I had my queen size sleigh bed, so the extra sized headboard and footboard and all of that to accommodate it being a sleigh bed. My oversized nightstands, I had room for it. I couldn't have fit a king size of that same bed, but I fit the queen size. And I had an armoire that went with it. Like it was a beautiful and very heavy bedroom set. And it was cherry. It was made from cherry wood or cherry. It was a dark cherry stain as well. So it was that very, almost a rosy rustic color. I mean, just that deep, rich color that makes you think it's expensive. It wasn't as expensive as it sounds, but it looked expensive to me, at least. And against those navy almost navy colored walls. That cherry furniture just gleams. I mean, it's that all the colors in my bedroom, my master bedroom, were rich colors, very, very rich, deep colors. And I had a double window in my master bedroom, but it was the darkest room in the house. If we did not have the overhead light on, which I had the daylight bulbs in my master bedroom light fixture, if you did not have the lights on, you could walk in there in the middle of the day, close the curtains, and go straight to sleep. It was that dark in my master bedroom. But with those lights on, it was just so rich and so... It almost gives you that feeling of looking at some very beautiful fabric. You just want to reach out and pet it. I can still picture those colors because they were so vivid. And I loved that. I don't know that my husband was as in love with it as I was, but I definitely loved it. And my son's room got painted one shade of gray, and then my studio room or office or whatever got painted a different shade of gray, and then the bathroom got painted another shade of gray. So they were like all different shades of gray, but they weren't beige. They were not beige. That was my goal, was they would not be beige. So I'm doing the same thing here that I do on a 90-degree corner. So I stitched all the way 1/4 inch from the edge, and I should have actually stitched back a little bit, I think, because I think when I line this up and stitch it and flip it, yeah, my line's not going to be where I want it to be. Okay, you guys, you win. Here's Jackie. But we're going to stitch a couple of these, and I think I'll go till about 9:30, so we've got about another half hour, thereabouts, and then I will call it quits for the morning. But I will still be working on this all day. I need to square up that other quilt and all of that, so we will do it. Alright, so I just unsewed, backstitched, however you want to call it, back to the corner line where my seam is, because I am wanting to accentuate where those seam lines fall. And I'm just going to start stitching again. And we'll see how this comes out. Yep, Jackie. Jackie came out. Jackie came out to play because Tammy was being lazy. That's what it is. That is what it is. So before I did my Tuesday Night Live, I went to 2 quilt shops. I went to another quilt shop Wednesday morning in Utah, and I spent much more than I'd planned to spend. It was not exactly my budgeted expenditures for this trip. But my husband saw a quilt, and he was like, "Hi, Jackie, good not to see you." Yes, good not to see you, exactly. But my husband saw this quilt hanging up on the wall. It was, of course, one of the quilt shop samples. He saw this quilt hanging up on the wall, and he said, "You need to come see this." I said, "Okay, I will." And I was like, "Oh, that is pretty." He's like, "I really like it." I said, "Okay, well, do you want me to get the kit?" He's like, "You don't have to, but I really like it." I was like, "Well, I mean, it's a quilt I could do. That's not a problem. Do you want me to get it?" It's up to you. I just know I really like it. I'm thinking, okay, there's 3 I like it's from this man. I'm getting the quilt kit. So you guys are going to get to see the quilt kit and the book that the pattern is in. And that will probably be a project I start this winter. I'm not going to start it now. I've got too much else on my plate. but I want to start it. And when he was looking at it, I don't know if it clicked right then for him, but I was talking to one of my friends and she said, "Oh, that kind of reminds me of Pioneer Woman." And my husband and her both love Pioneer Woman. They both love her. Ree Drummond and all of her fabrics and all of that. Oh my gosh, Charlotte, you have won the internet this morning. She says, "Lordy, men." No joke. No joke. And then Giovanna's, yes. Yeah. When I offer to make something, if you really like it, okay. No big deal. That's okay. Fine. I'll do it. It's not like you have to really pull my arm. You like it? It's pretty. I agree that it's pretty. I don't find it hideous. So okay, I'll make it. No worries. And yeah, it's just the indecision. But yeah, so he loves Pioneer Woman, and I mean, like I said, like I've told you guys, he is my decorator. He knows how to decorate. I don't know how he comes by this skill. I do not. But he's been capable and very good at this since we met. So at least 6-7 years. As long as he pays for it. There you go. Oh, so many things I could say and do. Oh, yes, as long as he pays for it. Absolutely. So I come home with Charlotte. Oh, Nightbot got you. She used too many emojis. She was laughing too hard. Nightbot got you. Okay. Well, give Nightbot just a minute. Let your husband have the timeout that Nightbot has determined. You have taken the torch from Giovanna. She used to trigger Nightbot all the time for me. So you have won today. But yeah, so he loves Pioneer Woman, and my friend here loves Pioneer Woman as well. And when she saw it, that's what she thought of. And the moment I told him that she said that, he was like, "Oh yeah, it does." So, you guys, there was one quilt shop that I missed. I thought I had gotten all the quilt shops that were on my route from here to Salt Lake City. Poor Charlotte. Yeah, exactly, Giovanna. She'll be back. Just got to give Nightbot its little timeout approval thing. Whatever Nightbot has decided it is. I don't know what the timer is. I apologize. I have not looked. But, so I stopped at 2 shops on the way to Utah, and then stopped at the quilt shop in Utah. And then I realized, looking at my list, because I was looking at where all these shops were, it's Story of My Life, I Live in Trouble, says Charlotte. Welcome back, Charlotte. Welcome back. Oh. It wasn't me. It was Nightbot. I'm so sorry. I have to laugh. Yes, she is back. But so I missed a quilt shop, and on the way down to Utah, I went into quilt shops by myself. I didn't take my husband in. He stayed out in the car with my service dog because I'm still a little traumatized by my incident with one of the quilt shops and my service dog. It's still a little hard. And it's not that there's anything wrong or anything like that. And I'm going back to that quilt shop soon. I'm not going to give any details because I'm not going to blast anybody. But I'm going back to that quilt shop soon, and I'm going with a group of people. And so I'm a little nervous. Like, really nervous, actually. So we're going to see what happens when I go to that quilt shop. But I was so nervous on the way to Utah that taking my dog into a quilt shop, even though I need him while I'm there, Kelly says my quilt shop is awesome with my dog. And see, a lot of the quilt shops, all the quilt shops I went in on the way to and from Utah were dog friendly. I even told the 2 shops that I stopped in without him. The first one I was like, I would have brought my dog in, but I've stopped taking him in for right now because I don't want another incident with having, an issue with my service dog. And the first shop, she's like, oh, I have 2 wiener dogs. And I love dogs. They're fine. And then the second shop that I stopped in, they actually had 2 dogs on the premises that would absolutely be pleasant with him. So, yeah. Kelly says I plan on bringing her to Paducah. I hope they're okay with her too. So mine is a service dog. If yours is not a service dog, you do need to ask permission. I will put it that way. Because a service dog is permitted to go with its handler into every location that is not a sterile environment. If the general public is allowed, the service dog handler and the service dog are permitted. If it is not a service dog, if it is a pet, please ask if they're okay with you bringing up your pet dog and explain that it's a pet. Oh, she is a service dog? Okay, awesome. Yes, Kelly. And so when you go to Paducah, I don't know, because I haven't been back since 2016. So my information is 6 years old. When I went to Hancock's of Paducah, they did have a dog on site. Not a service dog, but a dog that was, I'm assuming, goes to one of the owners. And that dog was fine with my dog, but that dog did try to get between me and my dog was not okay with that. Their dog, that is that dog's home, so that dog takes precedence. So just be aware that there may be situations like that you run into as well in Paducah, and that may be a problem that I run into at one of the quilt shops that I went to, because there were dogs already on the site. So I don't know if the dogs live there or what the deal is. So dogs, they're pack animals. However, if that's their home, that's their home. They get priority in that situation. Charlotte says, how nice to go in by yourself. Said their quilt store had an issue with the service dog. So their issue wasn't the dog, and it wasn't me. Their issue was, their exact words to me were, they don't want the dog rubbing up against the fabric. So they didn't want the dog rubbing up against the fabric, then them sell the fabric to someone who's allergic, and then the person who's allergic just bought fabric with dog dander and fur on it, and now the shop is responsible. So that was their logic in telling me they wanted me to stay at the front with the dog and not walk through the store with him. I was welcome to walk through the store, but not with him. Or I could stay at the front and they would bring everything to me. But that's not how I typically shop. I want to be able to feel fabric and all of that. So legally they were allowed to say that. Legally they're allowed to do that. Does that make it a pleasant shopping experience for me? No, it does not. So it's entirely up to them. So my experience is different from everyone else who absolutely loves the store. And I think I would have had a better experience if there had not been confrontation with it. So it's not that the shop is a problem or isn't a problem, or my dog is a problem or isn't a problem. It was a combination of everything, especially that day, that did not make it for a pleasant experience. Giovanna says, here, so long as the shop is not food related, the dogs are allowed. A lot of places here could do that if they wanted. So like hardware stores tend to be more dog friendly. And then, of course, pet stores are obviously dog friendly here. But a lot of stores here, they may sell 1 or 2 food items at the checkout, and that may still be enough for them to say that they sell food. So therefore they can't have dogs in the shop. And I mean, it's up to the individual businesses as to how they're going to run that. Judy says, last time I was at Hancock Fabrics, there was no dog that I'd seen. Okay, and that's fine. I mean, again, my information is old, and with it being over 6 years old at this point. Oh, wow, it's 8 years old. Oh, my gosh. You guys, I didn't realize it'd been that long. So, with it being 8 years old, I'm not shocked that my information is incorrect. So, that's fine. I just know that they told me that the dog on site, it was his home, which means that dog gets priority over my dog. Charlotte says their issue. Yeah, it is their issue, and I'm not saying that I feel like their decision was correct, because my dog doesn't rub up against the fabrics. He doesn't go into a quilt shop and go rubbing up against everything. He has a vest on, and he knows he's working. I mean, he is in work mode when I go places. So he is not, I'm not throwing a ball, we're not playing. He is there watching me. And so I know what my dog will do, but they have no experience with my dog. That doesn't make what they did any easier, but they were legal in saying what they said. So it is what it is. Kelly says, my dog is okay with other dogs, but I don't like when the other dogs approach my dog, as she is trained not to interact with other dogs. Definitely, I always get anxious when I go into a new store on how they will react. Precisely my problem. Precisely. There are grocery stores here in town that I have not been into, because when you go into a grocery store, they tend to be okay with it, because, I mean, grocery stores are trained and all of that in service dog law here in the United States. However, it's the other customers that I run into problems with. So I do shop in some grocery stores. There's a couple I will go into, and it is incredibly hard sometimes to relax going into a grocery store, just having the experiences that I've had. And it's not any one particular grocery store. It's not any one particular person that's caused these kinds of reactions. Convenience stores are actually my hardest store to go into. They are just... to go into with my service dog, every time I go into a convenience store, I am terrified. I have PTSD over it. Giovanna says, okay, now what would they say about the fact that you have dog fur on you and you can leave said fur on the fabric? And Charlotte agrees. I 100% agree with that. However, when you run into a problem like this where someone has expressed that they have an issue with you or your dog, because of the fact that my dog is with me 24/7, 365, aside when he's out with my husband, like right now, aside from those kinds of things, it is so ingrained in us after so long. I mean, I've had a service dog since 2014, so I'm at 10 years. This August will be 10 years since I started my first job with my service dog, and it became more of a package deal. So a decade of having a service dog in one dog or another, it's kind of that habit now of knowing that I may encounter problems everywhere I go, and knowing that in the back of your head, asking about whether or not they would have problems with the dog fur that's on me, and me leaving that fur on the fabric, is not even something that crosses my mind, because at this point, having that conversation is foreign to me, because all that would do in a lot of these situations is just be more argumentative than helpful. Kelly says, I always have dog hair on me as I have a German Shepherd. I have a lab. My current dog is a lab. I am looking at my next dog will be a longer haired dog. I'm thinking a Pyrenees or St. Bernard kind of dog, like, or Bernese Mountain Dog. I'm looking at a bigger dog that will be furrier. My previous dog was solid black, so I always wore black and nobody could tell. My current dog is red. I don't wear red. I don't wear that shade of red. It's kind of an orangey red, so no. So it's obvious. Judy says, I was there in April and that was the only place I went. I have no problems with a service dog being in businesses. I've seen service dogs in Kroger's. Yes. I've been in Kroger with my service dog. One of the chains up here is a Kroger affiliate, and it's one of the stores I haven't been in because I have one grocery store that I've been in that I know I have not had problems with before, and that is currently a safe place. So I haven't ventured into the other ones yet, just because of my predetermined fears that I'm going to run into problems. Kelly says, yep, I will leave her in the car when I go to a grocery store unless it's too warm outside. I brought her into Walmart, Aldi, and Woodman's with no problems. So I do not leave him out in the car unless the trip inside the store is going to be less than 5 minutes. So me going in to a convenience store to use the restroom and get a drink is... I'm expecting that to be less than 5 minutes. A trip into Walmart is too traumatic for me to not bring my dog. So I cannot. I've tried. At one point, when I was between dogs, when I had to wash my previous dog, or retire my previous dog, wash my in training dog that was almost ready to graduate, and get my current dog, who was a puppy at the time. When I was in between an active working dog, I tried going into a Walmart, and it was the calmest Walmart that I had access to. And we are talking a very small location in rural Alabama. Very rural Alabama. Hubby just left. So I tried to go into that Walmart without a service dog, and I could not make it past the shopping carts. So it's, it is what it is. I've got too much trauma and too many issues that making that drastic of a change, especially a quick drastic change, and going by myself definitely is not an option. If I went into a Walmart at this point, if I went into any Walmart, there's one Walmart in this town that I could go into. The other one is way too busy. There's one Walmart I could go into, and I would have to have someone by me, and I would literally have to be able to touch them the entire time I am there. That would be the only possible way for me to make it through a trip into a Walmart without my service dog. That is the only option. Let's see. Giovanna says, it is an excuse. They should expect your dog. If it was a police dog, they would... When you walk in there with a badge and a gun and a shield of any kind of sort, like like police officer. Excuse you, sir. Could you not move my camera, please? What are you wanting to do? What are you wanting to do? Sorry, you guys. Really? Alright. I'm going to move the camera. And you guys are... I'm going to... let me transition you guys off. I'm going to show you what happened. And let me bring you guys back over. My dog has literally decided that underneath my tripod, there is one leg of my tripod over here. This is my little adjuster for my tripod. And there's a leg back here. And then there's a leg behind him. So he's literally taken up camp. There's my binding on the floor. There's my foot with my sock on. He has decided that that is where he needs to be. Okay, so we're going to transition you guys back off. So, sorry for the distraction. That is what the distraction is. So now you guys have seen the service dog. That, the infamous service dog. Let's see. So what I was saying is when you walk into an establishment with a badge, a gun, that kind of authority. Dawn says I'm late. No worries, Dawn. Glad you were here. Thank you. Thank you for coming to hang out this morning. We were just showing Paladin, my service dog. He has decided to take up camp underneath my tripod. He just got booted in here since hubby left, and he has taken up residence. But yeah, if you walk into an establishment with a gun and a badge, and you have a dog, the dog is going to be the least concerning part of the whole package. So if you have a police dog and you are a police officer or a law enforcement officer of any kind of, or sort or whatever, and you walk into an establishment, they're not going to give you grief about your dog. They're going to be more worried about what you're doing there and how they can help you and get you out of there quickly. Let's see. Pam Maid is here. She says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pam. Dawn says, good morning, everyone. Giovanna says, he's so cute. Thank you. Yeah, dog is cute. He's a little troublemaker, but he is cute. Kelly says, I do think store owners are getting more receptive to them. I still don't feel comfortable bringing her into restaurants unless it has outdoor seating. Okay, so here, and you love Great Pyrenees. Right. Thank you for this conversation, as others don't always understand. You are welcome, Kelly. I have that same feeling. It is so hard sometimes to have that kind of conversation with someone who has never experienced someone else with a service dog or experienced the service dog lifestyle in any shape, form, fashion. There's a lot of things that the general public just does not know, and it's not that they're not interested in knowing. It's that, and my camera's moving again, you guys, he is stretching out. But there's a lot of things that aren't discussed because in order to have, and I'll put this in the best terms I can. In order to be legitimate in the United States to have a service dog, you have to have a disability, and the dog has to be trained to mitigate that disability. What that means is that you are not able to do something for yourself that your dog is doing for you. Or you have to have that dog in order to make your life possible and smooth and complete. Which basically means that there is a flaw in you or your body or something, and that dog is filling that void for you. Whether that's a hearing disability, whether that is a blood sugar issue, whether that is a seizure disorder, migraine disorder, blindness of any level, whether that is PTSD, mental health. I mean, it can be mental, it can be physical, it can be anything that dog is filling that void for and making your life possible. A lot of people do not realize that a service dog for a service dog handler is akin to a blood glucose monitor for a diabetic or insulin. They don't realize that it is akin to eyes for someone who is blind, ears for someone who is deaf. They don't realize how an able-bodied person has a hard time understanding what it is like for a disabled person when that able-bodied person has no disabilities. I'm not saying it's impossible for them to know. I'm not saying it's impossible for them to understand or be compassionate. But there is definitely that disconnect because the majority of the population is ableist. I'm not saying that the majority of the population is able-bodied, but especially here in the United States. I don't know about other countries because I haven't visited. I couldn't say. But for me, I run into a lot of people that they love dogs. They really want to pet him because they love dogs and they think he's awesome. But they don't realize that I don't have him there because I love dogs and I want to pet him. I mean, yeah, he's cute. I love him. I really do. I mean, at home, it's a whole different story. He's a pet at home. He's not usually working. He works when I need him to. But out in public, I don't have him because he's a cool accessory. I have him because whether someone with me realizes it or not, there's a lot of things he does that stabilize me. Whether that's mentally, whether that's physically, whether that is mitigating, whatever that task is that he is doing, a lot of people do not realize that that is kind of part of me at this point because I have needed it for so long and I've needed that assistance. So I don't go out with my service dog because he's a great, cool accessory. I go out with my service dog because that's what I need to function. Michelle says, legally, by not letting the dog in, they are breaking the ADA laws. Okay, so here's the fine line. Legally, what the shop has to do, what any business in the United States has to do, is they have to accommodate the handler. And that's going to look different than what it feels like it should look like. It feels like it should be a black and white situation, and unfortunately it's not. So, in a restaurant, for example, I do not have to be seated outside. I don't have to have outside seating. I don't have to have all of these other whatevers that they would like for me to have because that's what they would rather me have. I can insist, if I want, to sit wherever I want. I can choose where I want to sit. And there is nothing that the restaurant can legally do to say otherwise. So if I want to sit in the middle of the restaurant, I can do that. My dog is trained to go underneath the table. If he were a bigger dog and he couldn't fit underneath the table, there are other things I would train him to do so that he would not be in the way. I have sat in the middle of a restaurant, in the slap dab in the middle of the aisle, the walkway, whatever, and I have witnesses that can attest he fits underneath chairs. He will slide himself and make himself tiny to fit underneath a chair. That is not ever an issue. So I have less problems in restaurants. The shop that I went into, the quilt shop that I went into, legally, they do not have to let the dog walk through the store with me. they are right. They are within their legal bounds. They have to assist me. They have to offer me a way to receive sales, receive assistance. But they do not have to permit the dog to be with me throughout the entire store. Was it rude? Absolutely. Absolutely. But legally, they offered to help me. And I could walk through the store without him. But legally, they offered what they were required to offer by law. They offered to help me. I could hang out up front, and they would bring me everything that I wanted. And they would cut fabric for me, or bring me whatever notions, or all of that kind of thing. But they did not want the dog walking through the store. I don't know why. I don't know what their true reasons are. I mean, I know what they told me about not wanting the dog to rub up against the fabric. I call a word I can't say on YouTube. I'm just going to say it that way. I love it now. I call a word I can't say on YouTube on their statement, because I don't believe that that is a legitimate reason that they have for not wanting the dog walking through the store. But they did what they were legally required to do, which is offer me assistance. Was it handled very professionally? No. No, and no. But they legally did what they were required by law to do. So I have no grounds to do anything. I wish I did. They didn't technically break any ADA laws. Pam says, in my traveling last week, every time I saw a service dog, I wanted to go up and cheer that human on. It is super sad how very uncompassionate people have become towards other people in general. Yes, absolutely, Pam. Anytime, and here, as a service dog handler, and I know Kelly, as a service dog handler, you can chime in as well on this. As a service dog handler myself, if you see me out in public, is my dog cute? Yes, he's so stinking cute. Is he adorable and handsome? Yes, he is. Does he get called a girl all the time? Yes, absolutely he does. He is too pretty to be a boy. But talk to me. Don't talk to my dog. He's trained to ignore you. He doesn't know you from anybody else. If he knows you, you know he knows you. People who know him or who he knows, you totally know that he knows you and that you are his friend. Because his whole rear end wiggles, he jumps, he leaps. He is the friendliest, funniest dog when he knows you. If you are not in his inner circle, then he's not going to acknowledge you. Because he's trained not to. So talk to me. Absolutely. Say, I think it's awesome you have your companion with you. I love how furry your companion is. Something like that. Fantastic. That's basically saying, I love the color of your wheelchair. That's fine. If I had my choice in having purple, my wheelchair would be freaking purple. And for the record, if I do get my wheelchair, it is in the works. If I do get my wheelchair, it is going to be purple, and it's going to be decked out with purple. I'm going to do purple glitter stuff on it. But that's like telling me that the blouse that I'm wearing is gorgeous. That's like telling me that you love the boots that I'm wearing. That's kind of what commenting that you love my dog's coloring, or you think he's adorable, or, you love you love the vest he's got on, any of that kind of stuff. That's cool. Just don't tell him. He doesn't know what you're saying. He doesn't care. And you're not his friend. So don't talk to him. Charlotte says what's legal and what's right are often two different things. Yeah, completely agree. Giovanna says, I would have made them run for their money by not buy anything. I've discussed doing that, Giovanna. that if I go back, and I won't do it on this trip with these ladies. That's not fair to them. I'm not going to be the stick in the mud person. I'm not going to do that. But I thought about it. If I went back to shop at their shop because they had something that I needed, I would literally go park myself up front with my dog, because he's not going to go back out to the car this time. I would park myself with my dog and go, bring me all the petite greens, or bring me all of this, or bring me all of this, because I need to decide, and I don't know which shade I want. And I would literally tie up 1 or 2 people in that store for probably about 2 hours, happily. And then, okay, well, I still don't think that makes, what, I don't think that's right for what I'm looking for. I'll buy that 1/8 yard cut. I'll do that. Kelly says, mine gets called a boy all the time. I love purple. I would love for him to wear purple. I can't put him in purple because he gets called a girl more in purple. He's in teal. A boy color. A boy color. And he gets called a girl all the time still. Judy says, I'm a retired nurse. When I see someone with a service dog, I'm watching the handler just in case the person needs assistance. That's actually kind of wise. Thankfully, with my disorders, the likelihood that I am out in public when I need medical assistance is slim. But there's always that chance. And that's one thing I do want to bring up, you guys. If you do see a service dog handler and they are conscious, or if they are conscious, if they are sitting down or taking a break with their dog or whatever, don't just call 911 on them. Don't call the emergency service on them. If they are unconscious and the dog has anything on them that says do not call 911, then don't call 911. But it's always okay to ask, hey, is there anything that you need me to help with, or do you need me to call anyone? And let the handler fill that in for you. Perfectly fine. Don't just call 911 on somebody though. Please, please, please. Especially if they have a service dog, because they're already handling everything as much as they can independently. So respect a service dog handler in that. Don't assume that you can call 911 on them, please. Just random throwing that out there. Giovanna says, I always talk to the owner of the dog and ask if I can touch them. Yep, and I do not mind answering that question. I know early on, when I first started having a service dog, that was the absolute most dreaded question, is can you pet my dog? And it wasn't because my dog didn't like being petted. That dog loved being petted by strangers. I had a hard time saying no and saying that I did not need to let my dog be petted. I had a hard time shutting people out of being able to pet my dog, and I ended up paying for it. So all of my future dogs, all of my dogs since him, have been trained specifically to not interact with strangers. And that is because I have reacted to things people have had on their skin, lotions, perfumes, etc. And when I first started having a service dog, I didn't know that was going to be a problem. But yet, here we are. It happened. So yeah, I'm much more firm about it now, but this dog, he's very good about, if you are a stranger, he does not know you. Let's see. Charlotte says there are still people who lose their minds over diabetics carrying needles with them, so I get it. Bedazzle that wheelchair girl. Yes, yes, yes. I am going to, if it comes with a bag on the back or something, or it doesn't have a place for me to put my phone, any of that kind of stuff, and I'm still months out. Because I know where things are. I talked to my physical therapist yesterday. I know where things are with that process. But if it does not have the cool stuff to make it cool, to make it me, I'm going to freaking make it. I'm just going to. Chloe says, fun. Yes, absolutely. Kelly says, I agree there. They're definitely the center of attention. And what's so hilarious is, you guys, my dog is completely passed out. I mean, completely passed out. And he does this out in public. He will, once he gets settled, if he is not thinking that he's needed, he will settle and pass completely out. He knows that if mom's sitting and mom is resting and mom is not moving a whole lot, then he can sit and rest. And he does. And I will get up to leave from someplace, and I cannot tell you how many times I've heard the phrase, I didn't even know you had a dog. And that is the best compliment I have ever received. Best compliment in the world. Giovanna's laughing. Kelly says, and she has a pink collar. I think it's the breed. Yeah. People see German Shepherds and immediately think boys. Now, with my black lab, they thought he was a boy. There was no doubt he was a boy. Yes, he was a boy. But immediately, he's a black dog, so therefore he's a dog. He's a boy. This guy, he's red. He's a red fox for red fox coloring. And genetically he's yellow. But immediately people automatically assume, because a lightly colored lab is immediately a girl lab. I'm just like, but he's not. Giovanna says, I wait for the dog to smell me anyways. Or always. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could not, he would not let you come up and just pet him. He very much is you go to reach for me, and I look at you with side eye, and I tuck behind mom. He is very much, you know that he is not approaching you unless I tell him to. He is very much that kind of dog, and I really do like that about this dog. He is, that part of his personality and that part of his training has worked so well. And it's protected me so much. So I would not trade that for the world. But yeah, my next one is definitely not going to be a lab. I'm done with labs for a little bit. Let's see. Chloe says, you go girl, fun is important. Yeah, if I'm going to go around and have to use ramps and have to worry about whether the door is going to be wide enough and accessible, and I have to do all of these other additional worries beyond just I have a service dog, and like I'm adding this whole other layer of extra, why the heck would I not have fun with it? If I've got to live it, I'm going to have fun with it. So yeah, we're going to go with that. Giovanna says, I look for the balls. Yeah, he doesn't have them. We took them. My husband likes to say that I'm the only one with them left in the family. And I don't know. Maybe I just wear mine up higher. I don't know. The weird conversations we have on Saturday mornings, you guys. The weird conversations. All right, I'm going to have a lot of extra binding for this one, you guys. Not as much as some of the others that I've done, but this one's going to have a lot of extra. I cut a little too much, but that's okay. It's better to have too much than not enough. And this one I also attached to the front. I'm not going to worry about the back on this as much because this is going to be used as a table topper. That is what the husband wants it to be. So that's what we are making it to be. And so I'm not concerned about the back. If we turn it over and it looks pretty, then great. If we don't, it's fine. Chloe says, I just know your Mother's Day sign is flashing. Very cute. Yes, it is. And it's announcing the new time for Tuesday. So instead of 5 p.m. Mountain Time, we are going live at 6 p.m. It is, I want to give everybody a chance to get home, get settled, not be trying to get dinner at the same time. You know, try to shift things around a little bit and see if that fits everybody's schedule a little bit better, because I feel bad when people are missing out because it's my time choice. So I want people to be able to join the live for that. I was hoping that the flashy wasn't too flashy. So that was, when I turned it on, I forgot that it automatically flashes, and I would have to pull the remote out to change it, so I haven't done that yet. Chloe says, it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, the where I wear my balls, is that what we're talking about? Oh. Like I said, again, the conversations we have on Saturday mornings, right? All right. We are at the last corner coming up. So that will be 8 corners down. So we'll have gotten the binding attached to 2 quilt fronts today. And then I'm going to, after I get off the live, I got to go eat something. I've barely had breakfast. I had like a sandwich or something, but breakfast is my meal. That's going to be my biggest struggle with Saturday mornings, is breakfast is my meal. I have to have breakfast. I can skip every other meal of the day and move it around and shift it and all of that. Breakfast is the only meal I can't do that with. My body just does not like me, and it revolts when I do not have breakfast. Clay says, I think that time will work better for me. Awesome! Yay! Yay! Yeah, I mean, 5 o'clock is, for here, even my locals are having problems catching the 5 o'clock time, because, again, you know, people are getting off of work, they're going out to eat, or they're having dinner, and, I mean, that's when they've made plans for. So 5 o'clock has been hard for everybody, so moving it back by an hour to 6, I think is just going to make things easier. Chloe says, 2 quilts bound, awesome. Yeah, now, it's not attached to the back. I'm still going to have to do that. But that means I can spend a little bit of time outside today, get some sunlight, which will help with still recovering from the long trip to Utah. So, I mean, sunlight really helps. It helps a lot. I mean, ooh, guys, I could go sit out at the pool and do this. Gotta run, have a sew date today to prepare for. Everyone have a great weekend. Absolutely, Charlotte. Thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to show you guys again what I'm going to do. All right, so I've got this much open, and it's about a hand length. I would normally leave longer, but with these sides being only 20-something inches long, I don't want to try to force it. All right, this has a tapered edge. I could leave it. I'm not going to. I'm going to trim that flush. Okay, so now I've got a square edge. That was my original starting point. So it's not very long, but that's big enough. This is my cutoff piece. So I'm going to use this length, and I'm going to lay it against my binding that's laying flat against the quilt. I'm going to lay this on top, and I'm actually going to flip it the other direction so you guys can see it, because the wrong side of this fabric does show up very well, or shows up better. Alright, so I flipped it wrong side up. Let me see if turning the light on a little bit will help. Let's see if I can turn. Alright, it's on 50%. Maybe that's going to help. We're going to see. We're going to see if you guys can see it better here for that. Alright, so I've got that laying down. So what I'm doing is I'm going to lay this top piece over, and I'm going to pull it a little bit, but not, super tight. I'm just trying to stretch it just a little bit like I would if I was sewing it. And I'm just going to lay it over the top. Okay? So now I've got this piece of cut binding laying in the middle, and I'm going to pick up this top piece and my cut piece together. Okay? So I've now transferred it, and I'm just going to hang on to it, and I'm going to cut my other piece square with the end of that binding piece. and we'll get rid of the extra binding. Again, not a whole lot, but just enough. All right, so I haven't let go of this, so you guys can see. So this cut piece was laying on my other end, and I just cut this other end flush with the other end of the binding that I cut off. Okay, so that gives you the perfect length. Let's see. Kelly says I try to get sun on my lunch each day. Yeah, I mean I try, but I'm not good at that. Vicky is here. She says hi everyone. Absolutely, Vicky. Hi. Glad you are here. Giovanna says if you do 8 p.m. for me, it would be 6 a.m. so I would be awake. Perfect. Well, that's Sunday nights. Sunday nights is 8 p.m. so it'll be 6 a.m. Monday for you. Kelly says first time catching your live. Thank you for the service dog conversation. Oh, you're welcome, Kelly. Anytime. I am a huge supporter of the service dog community. One, because I am in the service dog community. And two, I have seen and experienced firsthand some of the issues that we come into contact with as service dog handlers. And a lot of it comes down to education. That is the biggest factor in whether or not we are treated properly and fairly and the same as the abled community, is because of all of that. All right, so I laid these catty corner from each other. I laid them at an angle, and I pinned along where my sew line is going to be, and then I pull it straight a little bit, and it is going to line up, and I don't have twists. So that's the first thing I make sure of. So I'm going to use my diagonal seam tape on my machine, and I'm going to sew corner to corner. I think this red on the back looks stunning. It's the same red from the front, but I think every time I look at the back of this, I think it is just absolutely phenomenal because it is so distinctly different from the front. I don't know why I love the back of this so much. I don't want to look at the back of it all the time because I want to see all my quilting mistakes and snafus, but I do like the look of it. Alright. Kelly says, I have some people that ask questions and lots are teaching their kids not to ask to pet. I appreciate those that are asking questions and willing to learn. Yes. So one thing, okay, there we go. So it is going to lay flat so I can trim off the extra. And Pam says, I too enjoy the many conversations. Being aware makes us better people. Yes, it does. I mean, even if it's not something you have to live with every day, even that little bit of knowledge can help you have that more intelligent conversation and have that life experience to put you in a better situation to be compassionate. So absolutely, completely agree with that. So yeah, Kelly, the one thing that I have loved, I mean, absolutely loved, I cannot say enough about how much it has been a blessing. When we moved up here, I mean, when we visited, before we moved up to Casper, when we visited, I didn't run into service dog problems. I didn't run into people chasing me out of convenience stores. I didn't run into closed-mindedness. I didn't run into a lot of feedback, like bad feedback or anything like that. Just being here. But I didn't know until I moved here and I've lived it, that the community here by far is more, it's not necessarily that they're more educated about service dogs, but the community as a whole is more supportive of the service dog community. I don't run into, I mean, so in the Southeast, when I lived in the Southeast, I lived in Alabama, and I visited Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, all of that. The one consistent thing throughout the Southeast that I personally experienced as a service dog handler is kids running up to my dog to pet him. Not running up to me, can I pet your dog? But running up and reaching out and petting my dog. And I love my dog. He is a fantastic dog. Kids are his nemesis. He does not understand them. He does not know what to do with them. And so it's like kids are the scary, scary toy that he doesn't know what to do with. He can warm up to them, but if a kid runs up to him, he just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And he kind of shuts down. So it means he can't help me because he's so worried about what the kid is going to do. Here, that is not what I run into. What I run into here is kids run up. They run up to me. Can I pet your dog? And I will say, no, I'm sorry, sweetheart, he's working. But, some of the kids are like, okay. And then they turn around and run off. And it is so foreign to me still that they would, just say, hi, can I pet your dog? And when I say no, they accept it. I'm in utter shock that they accept it. Because kids in the Southeast are not trained to accept the answer no. I was not trained, I don't believe, to accept the answer no. Chloe says, bye, I'll watch replay, off to softball. No worries, Chloe, I'm not going to be here much longer. But thank you for being here, I appreciate it. So, here, the kids run up to me, ask me if they can pet, and then they're okay if I say no. And I don't know what to think about it. It's refreshing and sad that it has to be refreshing all at the same time. But it is the biggest thing that I have loved about being here is that the parental control on their children isn't gone to waste, and that parents are actively educating themselves enough to be able to educate their kids. And I love that part. Kelly says, I think having a German Shepherd, people don't usually approach right away. I can understand that. German Shepherds get the rap for that. They really do. Alright, so I have got this attached to the front. And I could hand sew this because this is going to be a table topper, so I'm not super worried about it like getting rough handled or anything like that. But I'm still not going to. I could, but I'm not going to probably. I might. I don't know. It depends on how I feel. This will be the last one that I sew to the back, just in case I want to do it that way. You said it, active parents. Yes, absolutely. They have. No, I won't say that they've been taught to be respectful. I will venture to say they've not been taught that. But they have been taught that I feel like it's almost body autonomy, which in the Southeast, the common thread is when you go visit your grandparents, you give them a hug. Do you want to give your grandparents a hug? It doesn't matter. You give your grandparents a hug. You are taught to hug. You are taught to handshake. You are taught to be polite of everyone else's feelings. But you are not taught to have your own autonomy. As a culture, I'm not saying that this is every parent's household, but you're not taught to have a culture, and especially my generation. We were taught if, your grandparents or your aunt or your uncle or whoever wants a hug, you give them a hug. It's still kind of an expected thing between me and my parents that if my mom wants to kiss me or wants me to kiss her to say goodbye, that there's a kiss. No, I don't kiss my mom on the lips. That's not, that's not in the relationship. That would be a boundary for me. And it's not that I don't love my mother, but that's body autonomy for me. I need that body autonomy. But that was not something I was taught growing up. I had to learn that my own self. And children now in the South may be talking about it, maybe getting taught body autonomy a little bit more than they were when I was growing up. But there's a good portion of the Southeast that is not taught. It is not part of the curriculum at home to learn body autonomy. And here, it does seem like it is more taught, that it is more a cultural norm to be taught that if you don't want to give someone a hug, you don't have to. If you don't want to give someone a handshake, you don't have to. You can find other ways to communicate politely without that kind of contact. Kelly, can I ask where you live now? Yes, I live in Casper, Wyoming. I live in the center part of the state of Wyoming and absolutely freaking love it. The weather is so much better for my health, and as I've been mentioning, the culture has been a pleasant adjustment. Let's see, Giovanna says, I will give a hug if someone needs one, but I personally prefer not to. And you said earlier that you don't like hugs. So I do have to go on a no hug regimen periodically. If I have a trigger that has triggered my sensory issues, my breathing, my sense of smell, my sense of sound, my vision. If I've been triggered, then I may have to go to a no hug policy where I don't hug and my dog doesn't get petted because the transfer of smells. My local people that know me have seen me be okay with, hey, I've missed you, I'm so glad to see you, let me give you a hug, to I apologize, I can't do hugs right now. And they're okay with that. They realize that is part of what my type is right now. But in the Southeast, it was really hard to go to a no hug policy with anyone if I ever had a hug option with them. It was automatically assumed because there was a hug before that a hug was okay now. And that is a definite cultural difference between the two areas. Kelly says, my nieces never wanted to give hugs, and I respected that, but lately they have approached me to hug. And see, that's exactly what it needs to be. If you want to hug them, and they want to hug you, then that's okay. That's permitted. If they don't want to hug you, or you don't want to hug them, then it's okay to not hug. It is absolutely okay. Humans do need physical affection and do need touch, but I'm very glad that I'm finally in an area where it's okay to decide who that touch comes from. And it's been amazing for my service dog too. So, okay. Well, I'm going to stop rambling, stop ranting, all of that stuff. But I want to show you guys up on the camera. So let's see if it will focus. Will it focus? Will it focus? Maybe. I can't tell how clear this is, you guys. I cannot tell. Alright, so when I fold this over to the back, I will give it more of a defined point, if that makes sense. Like, I will make sure that it looks the way that I want it to look, but I'm not worried about the front not having that, because these are not 90 degrees, and I'm not expecting them to be perfect. I mean, this one almost just rounds out, so, and that's just loose threads. So I will get the other two. I've got to square up that one, and then I've got that one and one more to put the binding on the front. And then I will go sit out on the patio today and go clip these. And I may get them done tonight. I really need to be able to set Beauty up to embroider to get that quilt label done. So we'll see what happens. I'll see what happens. Let's see. Laura says, I grew up in the Midwest. My family is a very huggy family. Our children are the same way. I understand your sensory issues. There are times I can't tolerate hugs. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have... Mona, hi. She says, hi, Tammy and everyone. We're just about to get done for the day. Been going... Oh, crap. Almost 2 hours. I'm sorry, you guys. I was planning like an hour and a half. I'm going to have to plan better. But... yeah, it's been so pleasant. It's been so pleasant to be here. So, all right, I am going to go ahead and sign off. I will be live 8 p.m. tomorrow night, Mountain Time. Okay, 8 p.m. tomorrow, and I am going to be probably going about 2 hours. I'm expecting, because I need to be off by 10 to help the neighbors, keeping quiet and all of that. So I do need to be off by 10, but I probably will be on for a full 2 hours tomorrow night. Pam says, thank you for the real conversation. Helps me with my anxiety and awareness. Absolutely, Pam. And that is what I want to bring to my channel, is I want to be able to talk about the difficult things that a lot of people either don't know how to talk about, don't have the experience to talk about, or don't have the willingness to have those rough times. Yes, I am going live tomorrow, Laura. Yes, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. So I will be on after Tiffany. I'm not going to try to compete with Tiffany. I want my quiet time, and we are going to do... It is listed on the channel. I do have it already programmed in, so you guys can go ahead and turn the notifications on for it for tomorrow. I do have it programmed in. Sundays are going to be after sunset Sundays. So it's not quite after sunset, but the end of it will be after sunset. So I look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow night. If you're able to join, great. If not, there's always a replay. Do not forget, Tuesdays in this month, Tuesdays in June, there are giveaways every Tuesday night. So please set your reminders. Tuesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. It is time to catch me, because we are going to do Show and Tell this Tuesday, and there will be a giveaway. And then we are going to do every Tuesday night in June is going to have a giveaway. All right. So Kelly says, watch the replay. No worries. No worries. And Giovanna says, a lot of people don't know about these problems. They don't. You're right. They don't. But so, it's something I can help with. So, all right. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button, hit that thumbs up button. Let YouTube know that you like the content. If you're watching on replay, please comment. Let me know you caught the replay. I really do look at all of those. I do respond to everything. I appreciate those comments. So please, please, please help me out. Help the YouTube channel out. Let YouTube know, don't help YouTube. Let YouTube know you like me. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.